test of intelligence, women being men, friendship and love, all that you can find in the play of Shakespeare, The Merchant of Venice. Hello, welcome to this book review. So I have to give it to you before you start. This is not like my usual book reviews because usually I don't spoil that much. But since I'm doing this for academic reasons, I will be talking about the plot like from A to Z, excluding some details because I'm just giving the summary here. And I'm doing this for more academic purposes so that I could help out my fellow academians. So let's go. Alright, so before I start, obviously, William Shakespeare. If you're an English student, I think you already know the basics. I mean, he was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, which is like the United Kingdom, in 1564, and he passed away in 1616. We know that he was a court's favorite. I mean, they called him the Bard. I mean, his plays, sonnets, poetry were like seen and read and viewed by everyone. So he was the big thing. He was a big thing back in the days. And he obviously married Anne Hathaway, who, yes, it refers to the conspiracy of going back in time, where you see that Anne Hathaway looks like the wife of Shakespeare and Shakespeare looks like the husband of Anne Hathaway. So, well, that's like a coincidence. Yeah, but it also adds to the other conspiracy that says that maybe Shakespeare is not even a real thing. I'll leave that to you. What we know is that at least there are products of art that have been created by a name called William Shakespeare, and this is one of them. So today I'm going to talk about The Merchant of Venice, and I had so much fun when I read this and I studied it, and it was fun. I mean, I enjoy William Shakespeare. Let's go through the summary and then we'll talk about the themes and the movie, obviously. Alright, so we've got two males here, Antonio and Bassanio. Antonio is like a senior, let's say he's in his 40s, 50s. He's already had enough of the world. He's sad, melancholic, there's something, a void in his life. And Bassanio doesn't get that because he's younger. He still has a lot of time to see the world, so he doesn't understand all of this. But Bassanio also wants to get married to Portia, who's living in a castle and has wealth and all of that. And you know, at those times when they get married to the girl, they take everything also. Yeah. Bassanio wants to get some money from Antonio so that he could impress Portia when he comes to her court, kind of like Aladdin did with the genie when he proposed to Jasmine. But Antonio tells him, sorry mate, my ships and my money are like all invested abroad, so I can't help you. But here's the thing, there are money owners here that can help you out. The thing is, they're Jewish, and you know, Jewish Christians were not really good in harmony at those times. And Antonio was one of the people that disrespected them, and he used to spit on them or also make fun of them for using usury, which means that they take a high percentage of interest when they loan you money. And he used to do that just to spite them, interest free. So he would give out money and take it back without any interest. Anywho, so Bassanio would go with Antonio to get the money from a Jewish money owner who is called Shylock. Now Shylock, as I said, does not like Antonio and does not want to help him out, but he's like, alright, listen up, I'll give you the money on one condition, that if you fail to return the money, you have to give me a piece of your meat, meaning he takes one from his body. And Antonio, because he's like all confidence and all, is like, yeah, sure, I'll give you a piece of my meat, because he knows that his money will come and he's wealthy, so no big deal. Of course, he signs the contract because he's loaning this money to Bassanio. Alright, so all is well. Bassanio goes to Portia, but meanwhile, Portia is like stuck with her, let's say, Lady Nerissa, waiting for the man to marry her because her dear father left a will. In this will, he said that there's a test of intelligence and of humility, if one must say. So there are 3 boxes, lead, silver, gold, and the right husband that will get engaged to Portia will choose the correct right box, and that will show his character. Fortunately for Portia, none of the people that came to propose to her managed to find the correct box, so that leaves space for Bassanio to get married to her. When Bassanio comes to her, he kind of chooses the correct box, and it has one of my favorite quotes, which is,
"All that glisters is not gold. Often have you heard that told. Many a man his life hath sold, by my outside to behold. Gilded tombs do worms enfold."
but I might say that it was a bit unethical the way he did it. I'll leave that to you to find out how. And he gets married to her, and Nerissa finds another man from Bassanio's friends, and then they both have a double wedding and they get married and they're happy and all. Except some news comes saying that Antonio's ships that were supposed to bring him money were delayed or maybe even crashed, which means that Antonio is here in a pickle because Antonio cannot repay Shylock in time. Therefore, he must give up a piece of his body. Hearing this, Bassanio and his friends run so that they could find a way to help him. And he tells Portia why he's doing this. And she's like, okay, that's alright, but here's my ring, so you better watch out for it and keep it as a token of my love to you. And he's like, yeah, sure, deal, no problem. And they all go. But Portia decides to also follow her husband dressed as a man. Because obviously you can't go there or join the court as a woman. And, of course, in the court, because Shylock refuses to forgive Antonio, he brought it to the higher court. And there, he's like, I want my piece of meat. Run out. And Antonio's like, dude, listen, I'll give you money. I'll give you more money. He's like, I want that piece of meat. And so, he can't get out of it. So while they're doing all of this, Portia, who's dressed as a man now, who is pretending to be a lawyer, joins in and defends Antonio. And she talks to Shylock at first and she's like, listen, you sure you don't want to accept some money? I mean, that'd be better. He's like, no, piece of meat. And so she's like, alright, but listen, yo, I want you to take that piece of meat without dropping any single drop of blood, which is impossible. And Shylock is like, whoa, I'm in a pickle now. I can't do that. I can't take meat. So he's like, listen, let's drop the whole thing. Just give me my money and let's all go. Except she says, if we're going according to the contract, you said you either accept that or nothing. So which leaves Shylock with nothing. But then, as he's walking out and he's going to resume his life, she's like, but listen, yo, you accused a Venetian citizen, which is also an offense. So you gotta pay up. And then Shylock is like, what? So Antonio steps in and he's like, listen, I'll forgive you. But here's the thing. You gotta convert to Christianity. And for a Jewish who is committed as Shylock, that is a stab in the heart. And he's like, not only that, I want you to give your properties and your stuff to your daughter, Julia. By the way, Julia, meanwhile, while Shylock was dealing with all of this, she eloped with Antonio's friend. And she also converted to Christianity. Wow. So basically, here, Shylock has nothing left. So he's converted to Christianity, he's given his money, and of course he's rejected by his Jewish community. So he has to leave the country. And you see, that's how Shylock's ending goes. And for the rest of the cast, they're just living life because they got all they wanted, except that to pay up for the lawyer's fee, Portia, who's dressed up as the lawyer, asks for the ring, which of course Bassanio gives up freely and without thinking about it. Maybe he said no the first time, but then he didn't put up a fight. And he gave his ring up along with the husband of Nerissa. And they both lost their rings. But when they go back there, the wives are like, where are your rings? And they're like, we gave them up. And they're like, oh, you gave them up to women. And they're like, no. And then they admit to them that they were actually the men. And they all live happily ever after. So you see, it's a really complex play, and I'm just helping you here out with the structure and the plot, so that if you do not get a lot the English, the high refined English, at least now you got this video to help you out. Yeah, what are the themes? So what are the themes that are going on here? Of course, we see that there is friendship and love, especially that friendship is between Antonio and Bassanio, but also, and some people would maybe link it to homosexual erotic feeling, maybe, we don't know. And also there is the idea of love, and giving up yourself and sacrificing, because they all sacrifice. Antonio sacrificed himself for Bassanio. There's also, this is the one that I'm more interested in, it's the women's status in the whole play. And I mean, Shakespeare talks a lot about women, and especially because the context of the time the play was written, it's 1600s. Queen Elizabeth was there, people did not give women their rights. So as Portia, you can see that she had to dress up as a man to be heard, and she has to go under the will of her father, waiting just for her fate to come. So you see, this talks about the status of women, and obviously we cannot ignore the xenophobia feeling between Christians and Jewish, and especially here Christians towards the Jewish. Maybe it's not just limited to that, it's borrowed from history, but like if we take it on a broader scale, it talks about how some people sometimes are just neglected or rejected because of their faith. And not only that, I mean how easily it was turned against him, Shylock, as of course Shylock nevertheless helped Antonio. You see what I mean? Even though for selfish purposes, but he helped him out. And then Antonio was like, I'm gonna forget all of that and I'm still gonna attack you horrifically. So yeah. Alright, before I finish up my review, or not review, but more like a summary and a bit of an aid for my fellow students and English majors, let's talk about the movie. So there is a movie, and not only just a simple cast movie, but you've got Al Pacino here portraying Shylock, and Jeremy Irons as Antonio, and of course Joseph Fiennes as Bassanio, and we know Joseph Fiennes is also in Shakespeare in Love, so he's really connected to this world. And yeah, amazing portrayal. I haven't seen the plays, unfortunately, but I've seen the movie, and it's amazing portrayal of the story, and Al Pacino obviously made a great role of Shylock. So I'll see you in another book review, and yeah, I hope you had fun, and see you in another book review.